Welcome to Ras Tanura Refinery, or RTR. Saudi Aramco is the world's largest energy company, and Ras Tanura is its largest refinery. We supply over 45% of Saudi Arabia's fuel demand. We are the heart of Saudi Aramco's downstream operations. At RTR, we are committed to high standards of health, safety, and environmental performance. We believe in Saudi Aramco's safety vision, safe at work, at home, and on the road. The most important part of RTR is its people. A safe refinery and your safety is something to smile about. Be safe and smile at Ras Tanura. What are the hazards you could encounter at RTR? RTR produces fuels and other products from crude oil. Most of these products catch fire easily and many are toxic. Since hazards vary from place to place, be sure to understand the specific hazards of any unit you might visit. If there's a fire or release of toxic substances, an alarm will sound and RTR emergency response procedures will be implemented. We'll talk more about these later. While you're here at RTR, remember these possible hazards. To keep yourself safe, there are some basic safety rules and regulations you will need to follow. Violating any of these rules could result in your being asked to leave the refinery. Also, as you are visiting RTR, you should remain with your host and follow his instructions. If you're going to work independently at RTR, you will need to go through a more extensive safety orientation. You will then be issued a plant ID and be allowed to enter the refinery unescorted. Basic safety rules you need to know are contained in the Minimum Safety Rules Handbook. As you are watching this film, try to remember these rules, including 1. Use personal protective equipment or PPE. Wear appropriate PPE for the job you are doing. The minimum PPE allowed inside the refinery is flame retardant clothing with long sleeves, safety shoes, safety helmet, safety glasses with side protection, hearing protection, and gloves. Some activities require specialized PPE such as chemical handling, working at heights greater than 1.8 meters, working with cutting or grinding tools, working around dust, and handling high voltage power supplies. 2. Notice that smoking is only allowed in designated areas. Ask your host or supervisor to show you the nearest smoking shelter. 3. Mobile phones must be switched off in the process areas. No photographs are to be taken without a written camera pass and in many cases a hot work permit. No food or drink are allowed in the process areas. 4. Driving inside of RTR requires a valid Saudi Arabian driver's license. You must follow all traffic rules and signs. Driving while using a mobile phone or eating is not permitted. Drivers and passengers must wear seat belts whenever the vehicle is moving. 5. And while you're here at RTR, remember that some types of work require special authorization through the RTR Work Permit System. Information on the Work Permit System is contained in SMS Element 6. The big 6 items that are managed by SMS Element 6 are the Hot Work Permit, and that's work involving any source of ignition. Energy isolation, lockout, tagout. All sources of energy must be isolated and every person working on the item must be protected. The Confined Space Entry Permit for any entry into confined spaces. An approved release permit must be obtained before opening any line or equipment that may still contain any liquids or gases. An excavation permit must be approved before digging anywhere at RTR. And cold work permits are used to manage most other types of work. When you are working under any of these permits, you must still follow the safety guidelines covered in the Minimum Safety Rules Handbook. If you see or become aware of unsafe acts, conditions, or incidents, it's your responsibility to inform your host or an Aramco supervisor immediately so they can take the appropriate steps. What if there's an emergency? In the event of an emergency, the RTR Emergency Response Plan will go into effect. What are some emergency scenarios we train for? Fire or explosion, flammable vapor release, toxic vapor release, H2S, hazardous material spills, and medical emergencies. Sirens are tested every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. The sounds you need to listen for: local stop work alarm, emergency siren, all clear. How do you report an emergency? Inform your host or supervisor. If your supervisor or host is not available to report the emergency, call 110 on the nearest telephone. Say, "This is an emergency." Identify the incident location, describe the incident, report any injuries, give your name and badge number. Repeat all the information and stay on the line until the Security Control Center ends your call. While you are watching this film and learning about what to do during an emergency or drill, remember, stop work and remain calm. Turn off all equipment and machinery. If driving, park off the road and turn off the engine. Leave the vehicle unlocked with the keys in the ignition. Avoid paths that could cross the incident zone. Move to the nearest assembly point that is upwind of the incident. As you are thinking about what you have to do during an emergency, remember, always be aware of wind direction. Travel crosswind or upwind of any incident location. Windsocks are located throughout the refinery. And remember the location of the nearest assembly point. Assembly points are signposted. Please ask your contact in the area you are working in to point out the nearest assembly points and safe routes to them. What is one of the main reasons the refinery may sound the emergency siren? A release of hydrogen disulfide, or H2S. What is H2S? It is a deadly gas produced while processing crude oil. It can cause death in only a few minutes. There are H2S alarms located throughout the refinery, and refinery employees wear personal H2S detectors, are part of the PPE when in a process area. You may be wondering about the characteristics of H2S gas, so pay attention to the signs. Smell. Rotten eggs. If you smell rotten eggs, leave the area immediately and alert your supervisor or an Aramco operations employee. Alert your coworkers and ask them to leave the area. Do not wait for an alarm. As with any other incident, check the wind direction and move crosswind or upwind. Eyes. H2S will cause a burning sensation in your eyes. Density. H2S is heavier than air and will accumulate in low areas. H2S can be flammable depending on the concentration. Color. H2S is colorless. You will not see it before it begins to affect you. In this film, you have learned about the hazards you might encounter at RTR, how to work safely at RTR, and what to do in an emergency. As you finish watching this film, we would like you to remember to wear your PPE, follow safety rules, use the permit system, report emergencies and respond calmly and safely, and recognize the signs of H2S gas. Consult the Minimum Safety Rules Handbook, which your host can provide you. A safe refinery and your safety is something to smile about. Be safe and smile at Ras Tanura.